In this episode, we will talk about Filipino mothers and we will talk about OFWs. An OFW is an overseas Filipino worker. Oftentimes in the Philippines, due to desperation, lack of opportunity, and lack of means or income, women in the Philippines apply to do jobs abroad such as nurses, teachers, nannies, and most of the time, caregivers. A lot of times they visit countries in Europe, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Middle Eastern countries, even Japan and Korea. The truth is, these women have very bad working conditions, and this story I will share with you about a man who wonders if this is normal. Yes, this is normal because in the Philippines, having opportunity is very rare. Everyone wants to be an OFW so they can provide for their family back home, but only a few have the chance to go abroad and work in horrible conditions. Many OFWs, especially those working as domestic helpers, will face harsh working conditions, long hours, and this was evident to me. I experienced it firsthand when I lived in other countries before having to settle down in the Philippines. I used to live in Saudi Arabia for only 3 months for work. Then I was in Taiwan as well as in Japan a little while. And oftentimes it would be easier for me to talk to those that can speak English, which happened to be Filipina OFW. I could never understand why they would not want to meet me and why they could not want to meet me. They always told me that they had to work. So I would ask to meet them after their job, but they would say they are not allowed, that they will lose their job. And you might ask yourself, why would they put up with these conditions? And the answer is very simple. Desperation. They need money. They send it back home to their kids who live with their parents, which would be their grandparents, and who raise them in exchange for getting some monthly income. Also, there's a lot of illegal recruitment. There are cases where OFWs fall victim to illegal recruitment schemes promising high-paying jobs abroad. Once overseas, they may end up in different, often unsafe jobs. This is the case with many seafarers in the Philippines. They get promised high-paying jobs, but when they get there, essentially they work as it is the truth and the reality. Many times, these big agencies actually work with immigration officers and government sectors, but no one wants to talk about that, as we all know how corrupt the Philippines is, which is the reason why I sometimes do not reveal my identity, not for myself, but for the safety of my child. Separation from families is really hard for some of these OFWs. This is the Philippines truth. I don't always talk down to the Philippines, but speak the truth. And being an OFW is a big part of their culture. Sending money to the Philippines is a huge business. Lots of money involved, but it has a very bad effect on families and children. Separation from families, prolonged separation from their families, especially children, causes emotional and psychological stress for OFWs and their loved ones. This will result in family breakdowns and negative impacts on children's well-being. Essentially, children in the Philippines often grow up without either parent. The father is a drunk who ran off, and the mother is abroad working, which leaves the grandparents to raise these children, and there's obviously issues when it comes to being raised not by your immediate parents. There are so many downfalls and pitfalls for this situation of OFW, but these are just some of the problems. Oftentimes, there are unpaid wages and contract violations. Some OFWs report being underpaid or not paid at all, despite working long hours. Employers may also violate employment contracts, offering less pay or more demanding tasks than originally agreed upon. There's also limited legal protection. In a lot of countries, labor laws provide little protection for migrant workers, leaving OFWs vulnerable to unfair treatment without recourse. Some may not have access to local justice systems, especially in regions where their rights are limited. And lastly, of course, health risks. Lack of healthcare access to major issues for many OFWs, especially those in lower paying jobs. In some cases, they are denied medical attention, resulting in untreated illness or injury. As you can see, there are many, many reasons why Filipinos are treated poorly abroad. I do not want to say that Filipinos are all bad or they are lazy, but the ones that can make it out of the country still suffer some horrible conditions if they want to work abroad. These are the realities of the Philippines and OFWs. I have sympathy for them because for them, this is one of the few ways of earning a living, and a lot of them do not meet their qualifications. They do not have the brain capacity or simply the sheer will to go abroad and work, thus resulting in scamming. These are the truths. And someone on Reddit asks, is this culture or should I be concerned? I am 31 and my Filipina is 27 years old. She has a child and was married, but her husband has passed away and I saw the proof and so on. Well, that's not the problem. When talking about the future, she says she's happy to live with me wherever I want. That means either in the Philippines or the UK. The question is, if we'd be living in the UK means her child can't come with us. She says that she's okay with her son living with her parents and seeing him once a year and just doing video calls. Of course, us Europeans think that's not really good. How can mom just leave her child and move abroad to live with another man? But she says she'll be much happier if she can work and provide for her son rather than see him often but not being able to provide. So, is this normal in their culture, or should I be worried? Currently, she lives about 2 hours away and sees her son once a month. Question answered. Yes, this is normal in Filipino culture. As we just talked about, there are many reasons. NS7250 says, this is different here. Often a husband dies, a woman will shift the children to her parents. I've seen it several times. When she remarries, she does not have a blended family. She starts over. She still loves them, but they have a better chance like this. I have also seen OFW get pregnant, come home, have the baby, and leave it with the parents, and go back to OFW. People love children, and since it's their own family, they don't mind. I also have seen children shifted to a brother or sister to be raised, quite common in the provinces. These are even more reasons to never believe a Filipino when she says she has no kids, because she knows you will probably never see them, as her kids are now living with their cousins, sisters, or her parents while she goes finds a man for money or works abroad. This is another reason that I do not believe any paperwork a woman shows me about her husband being. I don't believe for a minute that the husband passed away. Perfect Kangaroo says, my wife is a Filipina from Mindanao province. We have a 9-year-old child together who was born in the Philippines and is a U.S. citizen through my fatherhood. Her son, my stepson, is now 15 years old. We tried to get him to the U.S., but since father-in-law and my wife's mother out their names on the birth certificate due to being embarrassed about their daughter being a single mom, it has been an impossibility to get him here over the past 9 years. We tried hiring lawyers, consultants, advisors, who even tried bribes, but nothing worked due to the bad birth certificate. We have given the sister-in-law money every month over many years for this care. He is a healthy, well-balanced teenager. My point is that unlike families in the West, it is very common in the Philippines for a family member to take care of a child in place of their parent. Even when my wife was taking care of him, she had a leave to work in Manila for 6 months at a time. Don't worry, it's a very common arrangement there, and as long as a responsible, loving family member is taking care of the child, all will be well. It's normal for a Filipino family, says another, to have the setup. I think, in her mind, living with you is some kind of work. Yes, work because she expects money from you. She expects money to send back to her family on a regular basis. Meow Work says, okay, so being a migrant worker, actually living in a foreign land with a new family is different. Usually, Filipinos will migrate to another country with a new partner, will try to bring the child with them. To be honest, I think it's not normal for her to say that she's okay with leaving her kid behind. Migrant workers really don't have a choice whether to bring the child to where they are. Usually reasons why they work far away from the child is because there is the money and they will always be working, so no time to take care of the child. But if you guys are working and going to live in the UK, then that's a different story. Why would she be okay with leaving her child somewhere else when she will possibly be living permanently in another country? Besides, I'm assuming you will help take care of his son, right? She has some physical and emotional support to help raise her child. Makes me sad for the child, to be honest. Seems like she wants to start a new life without the kid. Some excellent points made there. Although everything I said is true, there's also the other side of the coin. Those irresponsible parents and women that want nothing to do with the kid, that wants to just go ahead and live their life the way they've always fantasized. It's totally normal, says Tight Weekend. My Filipina is an OFW. She had 8 kids, eldest 26, I think. Absent father, except I'm not even going to read a story of someone with 8 kids and no means of income. But the point of this episode is to know about OFWs and to know that it's very normal for kids to be raised without fathers and mothers. Probably the reason why the culture and the Filipino people are sometimes backwards and does not make any sense, since they do not have a foundation, a solid foundations of being raised properly. How many of you have been raised without a mother or father or both and can tell me and verify how difficult it can be? So at the end of the day, I'll bring awareness to you so you understand the realities of the Philippines, to be aware and better prepare yourself. Yesterday's video was about the American being kidnapped in the Philippines and 10 reasons why it's dangerous for foreigners. The best comment with $2 support to the channel to spread the truth is from School NYC, who says, thanks for always being honest. There's a reason why the Philippines ranks 5th out of 55 countries for having the meanest people in a recent online poll. Yes, Filipinos are not always the happiest and friendliest people, as some would have you believe. Let's read a comment, the best comment that is not a super thanks to the channel. I do feel nervous, says Jaywalker, and some areas in the Philippines, and especially some areas at nights, are not safe. Thailand is much safer and funner. The worst comment is from Mary, who says, if you go anywhere of places you think you are safe as well, and you never know what happened to you even in abroad, and shut up your mouth, and you're too much yaki, and too much complain about the Philippines. You're evil. I feel sad knowing people like Mary go through life like this without having any sense of sympathy or empathy or knowledge, common sense, or just humanity. A person was kidnapped and shot in the leg, and this is how she responds. Pinoy pride at its finest. Thanks for watching. God bless.